service. So I'm head of profession for the Educational Psychology Service, Inclusion Quality Service, which is managed by Chris there, the Early Support Service, the Education Welfare Service, which we call Children Missing Education Service, the Special Needs, Statutory Special Needs Service, which produces a statement for youngsters, and an admin team. And I think that's probably have I covered everyone? Yes, I think that's Learning Support Services, I think that. So it's quite a wide-ranging job. And having been a teacher, an educational psychologist, and a manager, I feel I'm getting further and further away from my influence on what I'm passionate about, which is around doing what's right for children with special educational needs and those at disadvantage. So the question then comes is, how do I, as a manager, try to have an influence on what I'm passionate about? I could be a manager where I'm actually ticking boxes and saying, yes, we've got all these things in place and so on. But I really want to say, how are we making a difference to youngsters? There are measures of success for the local authority. They tend to be around SATS results and GCSE results and so on. And in Bath and North East Somerset, we're the highest achieving authority in the South West. We had the other day our GCSE results. So for our secondary schools, obviously, with English and Maths, 5 A stars to C grades, we had 60% of our children achieving that, and without the English and Maths, 76%. So huge numbers, but then the question comes to me, what about those that aren't achieving those figures? What about those youngsters who are in special school who have degenerative conditions where actually progress is very difficult to measure because you're actually maybe looking at going backwards? So how do we actually do that? Because the professionals in the field get very frustrated when the big headlines are, the attainment of youngsters here, but they're working really hard and are making inroads to the lives and quality of life of those youngsters, but nobody seems to be recognising it very well from their point of view. So as I said, my passion's about the achievement of children and young people, and particularly those that are disadvantaged. So to go back to the question, how do I influence what's happening? This, for me, I'm not actually doing research at the moment in any formal sense in terms of a university degree or so on, but it came from a master's degree that I did on looking at integrating services, local authority services. So through the Children Act 2004, we're looking at integrating social care, health, education services, and pulling in the voluntary sector, so on, working with the police, youth offending teams, and so on. So there's a big thing around integrated services. And I was also managing social services and education at the time. And I had real concerns that changes were happening at the top. So people were restructuring, directors, divisional directors and so on were getting positions, but nothing was really happening on the ground. So what was happening that made a difference in the quality of life for youngsters on the ground? I had real concerns about that. So I decided as part of a master's to look at that and how we could support frontline staff and how we measure outcomes for children and young people. And then how do we develop as an organisation so that we can actually value those things, and as a team and as individuals. So it's looking at teamwork and multidisciplinary, multi-agency teamwork. When I just said it there, multidisciplinary, multi-agency, there's been a confusion all the way through the literature and through government documents about what they mean by multi-agency working. It's multi-agency in some places, multidisciplinary, co-location, area working, locality working, joined up services, all those terminologies which mean different things to different people. There seems to be very little emphasis on actually how you help some people become a team and developing as a team. Okay? And there's things like, if you put them all in a room, co-location, you put them all together and they're going to work together as a team. That is much more difficult than I think people thought it would be. And then, of course, the emphasis then comes around the allocation of resources. So how are we going to divvy up our time? What the school's going to get? How are we going to do that for other services? The resources, roles and responsibilities. Roles and responsibilities, so who's going to be responsible for this, who's going to do that, who's going to manage people, is it an education person going to manage the social care managing education? All those things tend to distract from actually what's happening on the front line. That's my experience of that. So the main findings of my original dissertation, but there's a strong emotional content within teamwork. Two people actually volunteered to work in a locality. So we thought, great, they're volunteering, they want to do that. One guy came back and it was fuming, he's going to get his unions involved and so on. I think, what was going on here? Another woman said that she'd have to leave the service. And I said, you've just volunteered for this, what's going on? And there are all sorts of issues about actually, for this guy now to travel from his home to this other location, took him an extra half an hour and more petrol money. And he wasn't happy with that situation. The real practical things. The woman who was involved was saying, I will have problems with childcare, I can't pick my children up at the end of the day. So again, real practical things. You ended up with this really strong fight or flight reaction, which was totally unexpected, particularly as they volunteered. And I landed on the sort of complexity theory, so taking people from stability to complexity and trying to avoid them going to chaos, and moving them into the complexity bit, but actually trying to hold them there so that they didn't actually go back to where they were comfortable, but didn't actually feel as they were going to drop off the edge and the world was going to collapse on them. So the thing from the original research was that relationships were the key to effective teamwork. And the role of the leader was crucial, articulating that common goal, which was not happening very, very easily, very clearly. Providing the space for people who were coming with different values. So, yes, social service workers, social workers, educationists are all looking at what's best for children, but they're coming from different angles, if you like, and that needs to be worked on. And enabling learning within the organisation, learning about how we're working together, learning about ourselves and how we can move forward, holding people in that area of complexity. So that, I felt, was the job of myself as the manager, to hold people there. I can write plans, I can do budgets just like anybody else can do really, but it was that bit that was really, really important. So from that, I was looking at further work.